So, Asif, it's Manju here. You can answer this question at the right time. But
Mhm.
for someone who has used Colab Notebook and Jupyter Notebook all along, it's intrigued me, about this whole Conda environment and setup, so I've never used it. Um,
Oh,
so
okay.
yeah,
Let me
so I
start by
don't,
answering that. I will answer that. Okay, guys. So this is on record for later use. So I'll just give a small intro. See, what we are going to do is set up our development environment. And Manju asked this question, what is the relationship of Anaconda, which I trust you are seeing on my screen, to Jupyter and Colab and so forth? So I'll start by first answering that question because it's a very appropriate question. See, these open source projects like Linux, like Python, they have many, many contributors. Linux, for example, has a Linux kernel, which is made by the Linux kernel group, open source project, led by Linus Torvalds. And then, but the power of Linux also comes from the contribution of many, many people, many, many organizations. Somebody has created, for example, the Apache web server, the Emacs, the editor, and so on and so forth. So usually what happens is, as you bring all these projects together or their library or their software together, there will be, if you try to do it on your own, there will be incompatibilities. They won't quite work together. So then there are organizations which sit down, they take the Linux kernel, they take all of these softwares, libraries, and they create what is called a distribution. So a Linux distribution like Rocky Linux, Red Hat, or Ubuntu, these are just the offerings from organizations who have sat together, created a version of all of these packages coming together such that, and they tested it and they said, yes, this works well. It does work together. That's called a distribution. In the same way, in the world of Python, Python is a core language. It's an old language, almost 3 decades old now. But the power of Python comes from the libraries, especially for AI. Most things are not in the core language, they are in the libraries of AI, machine learning libraries. So somebody has to take these, Python and the libraries together, and basically make sure that these libraries are all compatible with each other. One doesn't break the other. You don't quite ever achieve that, but you come pretty close. If you just get this distribution in which everything is tested to work, mostly things will work well, almost always. But if you try it just with native Python, you'll struggle. So that is what a distribution is. Anaconda in the world of Python is the dominant distribution. Everyone starts with Anaconda or a lighter version of Anaconda called Miniconda, but we'll start with Anaconda, the full Anaconda. I will show you how to install Anaconda. Then we'll show you how to install Visual Studio Code, which is pretty much the leading so-called IDE, Integrated Development Environment. When you install Anaconda, it installs just about everything, Jupyter Notebooks, Jupyter Labs, and all the Python libraries. What is not installed, you then, on top of that, install one by one. Right? And Visual Studio Code in particular is not installed, so we will install it separately. And I will show you how this can be done. So if you're looking at Manju, does that answer your question?
yeah, got it. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah. So we will start by going to this website, anaconda.org. Do you see download Anaconda? When you go to download Anaconda, you can either give your email address, or in my case, I'm already registered there, or you can just skip the registration, go there, pick your poison, whatever is your operating system, pick the distribution for that.
Sir, are you sharing the screen?
Oh, am I not sharing my screen? Oh, I'm sharing the wrong screen. I apologize. Uh, this is silly. Let's try a luck. Am I sharing the right screen now? Does
Yeah,
it
we
say
can see the
Anaconda?
right screen. Yeah.
Okay, so in the Anaconda, what you would do is if you go to, oh, this has gone to anaconda.com. I would suggest you go to anaconda.org. Anaconda.org, at the top, you have the download Anaconda. So we will click the download Anaconda link. Then we'll go here where my mouse is dancing around, the skip registration. You can fill in that if you have never registered. It's a good idea. It's a way to give back to them. Register. You can go here. And then you will get, you're sitting on one of the 3 operating systems, right? And now, for the duration of this course, I would strongly advise you to work on Mac or Linux. We will give you those machines. So one of the things I haven't mentioned, but I'll mention to you, as soon as you form a team, you will get access to a very powerful machine. Those machines are all Linux. If you're not familiar with Linux, now is the time to get some basic familiarity with Linux shell. But in any case, if you have a Mac, you're pretty close to Linux, get it. If you're in Windows and have never used Mac or Linux, then you may have a bit of a struggle, but not today. Go download whatever makes sense for you. In this particular case, what makes sense is a Linux shell. Then what you would do is, in this particular case, I won't run this, but run the script. How would you run the script? You would go here, you would go to your downloads directory. So you notice that I have it here, -LTR. So in my case, this Anaconda, actually I downloaded it twice. So it has come in here. All you need to do is run the script. So how would you run the script? Change this permission to 755 or executable, or whichever way you do that, just double click on it or whatnot, right? And you would do something like this, change this, and after that, you can just run the script, Anaconda. If you're on Windows or Mac, I'm sure there's a point and click way of doing it. You can do it like that. And when you do that, it will start this process. Actually, let me again show you in a clean way. This, I run the script, it will come to welcome to Anaconda, press enter to continue. And then it will take you through this process of agreeing to a license. And you can say, I won't say yes because it's installed on my machine. That's all you have to do. Just keep saying yes, yes, yes to everything, and it should install Anaconda on your machine. Are we together, guys? Once you have installed Anaconda, then 2 things will happen. First, your environment is set up to do Python. That is one achievement. Now, depending upon what your flavor is, many of us like to work straight from the command line. You can go to the command line and then do Python minus version. On your operating system, it should say some version of Python, I believe. Here it says 3.11.7, right? You can check the version of Python, but make sure that the Python command is there. Right? Become familiar with Python. The second thing you would do after this is you can go and check that on your machine, an application called Anaconda Navigator. Actually, on Linux, it's a little harder, but on Windows, it will show up. Here, it's called Anaconda Navigator. This application should show up. In my case, it won't show up because my environment is highly customized, but you would see that it brings up a visual dashboard. As you will realize, most of the time, you won't be using that visual dashboard at all. You would be using, actually, might as well, in my case, also reinstall it. Okay, let me go through the whole installation process again. Anaconda, sure. So in my case, Anaconda already exists, so it won't let me install it all over again. I can just rename it. So now I can install it. Just have to keep saying yes, yes, yes to everything. Generally, for Conda config, I would advise you to say yes to it. Not necessary. And this is it. Your Python has gotten installed. You can say Python minus version, and it will tell you, oh, see, I updated my version now to 3.12.4. Good that I reinstalled it. Once you have installed Python, you can check it out, Anaconda Navigator. And many of you would like to go through this sort of a menu and all of that, Windows menu. That is perfectly fine. When you bring up the Python, the navigator, oh gosh, look, dismiss, yeah, no. You will end up with a UI like this. One of you asked Jupyter Notebook. You notice that Jupyter Notebook is one of the functionalities here. You can double click on it. It will start a Jupyter Notebook. There we go. It will start it in the home directory. But we'll go back and go back to the Anaconda. Now you also notice that it can launch Visual Studio Code, VS Code, but I would strongly advise you not to get it from here, but actually to go to back to your browser and go to VS Code. VS Code, once again, this is the code editor that you would use. Oh, service unavailable. Code is down. Interesting. I've never seen it down. Okay. So today is one of those interesting days. I've never seen this go down, but today it seems to be down. Okay, so we'll wait a little bit for the time being. But what happens is when you install Visual Studio Code, you can then open the folder. Let's say, okay, what is it? I'll just assume for a bit till this comes back up that Visual Studio Code website is up. I've never seen it go down. Today is an interesting day that I'm seeing it go down.
Yeah, I just got the message saying too many requests. That's why it is on. Yeah, somebody
There could be some mirrors actually.
Yeah, it's okay. It will come back up. Usually it's Microsoft, so
Yes.
it's a reliable thing. It will come back up. So what is the next thing we do? We come to the course portal, go to our course here, and we go to semantic search and follow along with me. I hope. Let me pretend to be a student, get into a student role, switch role to student so that you see what I see. You go here.
I think I'm having issues with the libraries installation, Jupyter Trust.
Would you like to share your screen?
Yeah, I can. I don't know whether I should be at the right
No.
that
Oh no.
place.
Are you already running those Jupyter notebooks?
I opened up code, and the first one I thought is the NLP lesson 1 installation.
So hold on, I haven't taken people that far. We'll go there together.
All right.
As if it's back up now.
It's back up. Okay.
Yeah.
So guys, we go here. Yeah, I know that a couple of weeks ago, the entire GitHub went down. All right, it's happening very slowly for the time being. Coming back to the course, do you see this, guys? This one, lab 1, getting started with semantic search. Just like you, I'm going to click on this. When I click on this, it should hopefully do all of this, download, blah, blah, blah. Let's go download it. Download it anyway. It should download something called Basic NLP, TAR, and GZIP. It's your first thing here. I'll wait for it to get downloaded. One sec, guys. And so, guys, when you do that, you will see it's still downloading. It's a slow process. Oh, it just downloaded. Okay. So you should find a file called basic NLP tar gz. Right? I'll move it into, let me just do that. Tar xvfz. You all know how to unpack it. Unpack using your favorite tool on Windows and Mac and whatever. On Linux, of course, you would say xvfz basic, and it should create this folder. It's a big file. You will end up with NLP. I'll move it to the home directory. There we go. And then what you would do is we'll go back to a Visual Studio Code. Here we go. Download for Mac, download for Windows, download for Red Hat. So I'll go and download it for Linux, but you do whatever is appropriate for your operating system. Everything here is a bit slow here. I'll just assume that you have downloaded, and I'll just show you what happens after that. Let me close everything. Close folder. Close folder. Okay. When you open Visual Studio Code, which is your main development environment that you will use throughout this course, then what you should do is go File, Open, Folder, and you should open the folder that you have. The folder was NLP. We'll open this NLP folder. I'll remove this. When you do that, you will notice that there are these libraries. By the way, the only reason I have not made it into a full package is because a lot of people are familiar with just thinking in terms of Jupyter notebooks. So I've done something crazy. I've made the whole notebook, the installation, based on just Jupyter notebooks. So what you should do is go to 00. By the way, this is not the best way of doing it. As you will see in a little bit, I tend to encourage people to use slightly better ways, which I will give you in the next lab. Just run all. It will, whenever you do that, it will ask you for an environment. Okay, that brings me to one more good thing that's important, actually, I skipped. It is a best practice never to directly work in the main Python environment. So I'll talk now about something called creating a virtual environment. A virtual environment is a sandbox. It's a protected sandbox where all the libraries that you install doesn't affect anybody else, and nobody, no other setup on that machine can affect your project. So here is how you create a new Conda environment or a Python environment, virtual environment. You will say Conda create -n. By the way, all of these instructions I'll post right away here. Create -n, and you can give it a name. So for example, I would call it LLM-1 day starter. Let me just call it LLM-1 starter. And you can be very specific about the Python. For example, you can be explicit and say, I want Python version 3.1.2. I hope it is visible what I'm doing, guys. Conda create -n, and this is the name. You can give whatever name you like. Python is equal to 312. If it is going too fast, I'll come and sit with you and help you with this. You do this. It will ask you whether to install certain things. You can do that. Once you have created an environment, you have to enter that environment. The way you enter the environment is you activate it. I do the starter. Let me get rid of this. Yes. I have activated that environment. Now, if I enter NLP, you see it is here. I will do the same thing here. When you are here, whenever you try, it will ask you to select a kernel. Do you see where my mouse is dancing around at the top? Select a kernel. When you select a kernel, it will say, pick an environment, create a Python environment. Do you see I have LLM-1 starter that I just created? LLM-1 starter environment. You enter that environment. Whenever you enter an environment, it makes that your work is isolated now. Now you can run it, code step by step. Let's say I want to run only this step. I can run this. And in the beginning, when you get IPython, this Visual Studio Code, it may install a few things. In Jupyter Notebook, there's a concept of trusted versus untrusted notebooks. So it's a good idea to make all your notebooks trusted because you downloaded it. Let's make it trusted. Second is there's a requirements file. We'll run through all the requirements. Actually, let me go through the requirements file. I haven't looked at it in a while. We won't need all of these, so some of it perhaps we can get rid of.
As if that's where the
Yeah.
you cannot find the Jupyter Trust actually.
1 second. So guys, I'll just remove for the time being because we don't need it for this. Okay, let me run it and see what happens so that as needed, we'll remove it. So I'm saying this. As you notice, it is going through the process of installing things. If it is failing for you at this stage,
So it was failing in the first step itself, the trust itself.
Oh no, trust. Are you on Mac or are you on Windows or something?
I'm on Mac.
You can ignore the trust thing because
Okay.
just ignore it. So guys, if you are on Windows or Mac, just ignore this trust thing. You'll have to manually mark all your files as trusted later. But then go on to the next step and the next step after that. So as you can see, it is installing a lot of things, but you can tell that it is still installing. If the arrow is still saying star, it is finished. Yeah. Step 3. Well, this is running some Jupyter extensions. Good idea if you are interested. If it doesn't work, doesn't matter. So now all your libraries should be installed. We'll go to 00B and we'll start running some things. Oh, by the way, the image has gone away. I'll fix this library, this thing in a little bit and update it. Installation of the visual. These are some of the libraries we'll need. Actually, not all of these libraries do we need for this course. But okay, since I have given you the notebook, let's try to run it and see what happens. So as you can see, it is installing these libraries. That is it. Once it has installed all these libraries, you are in a pretty good shape. Let's go to the next one. These are the NLP libraries that we want to install. Not all of it will be used, but for what it is worth, let's try to do that. Later on, I'll trim it down to the basics. Now it is installing these. Let me see. It seems that we have installed everything. Obviously, how fast it installs partly depends on how fast a connection you have and how powerful your machine is, and whether you have SSDs or not. Pi and LPL. Okay, this is hopefully the last one. Pi and LPL. Okay, so everything is installed. After this, I would encourage you this is it. Your setup is done. All you have to do now is go to search corpus see all of these text that you're going to search from, and then go to this. When you go here, I'll just change the theme. Give me a moment. In this case, I'll change the theme to light. Color theme. Okay. And then, guys, read through this, and cell after cell, you can now read through this documentation that we have. You can run this, you can run this. When you run this, by the way, oh, no module found sentence transformer. So see, we noticed that if you encounter a sentence like this, we didn't find this. So what is it missing? We forgot to install sentence transformer. Sentence transformer -Q. So let's do that. Let's install that. It's one of the things we forget because we have it in our environment. But the first time you'll have to install it. Transformers are a big library, so it takes a little bit. And now it is downloading the model. Remember, the next thing is that sentence model. So whenever you give it the name of the model, the good thing is that it will go to the Hugging Face repository of models and get those models. It is done. Now you can run it cell by cell, or you can run all the cells. I would encourage you to run it cell by cell. Right? Someone asked me, what is the dimensionality of these vectors? It is 768. You can see that, right? There are 16 pieces of text I put, 16 rows. Each row is a vector, 768 dimensional vector. Right? So it is, this vector is 768 dimensions.
And is there a not style, but is there a format where we are using a particular vectorizer?
Yeah, we are using a particular vectorizer. We in particular chose this one. If you go up, where am I? Here.
Asif, you may want to touch briefly on the MTEB leaderboard.
Yeah, MTEB leaderboard. Yeah, I talked a little bit about it a moment ago. Let me repeat it. See, guys, here's the thing. Where's my, okay, sorry. I have to go a little bit up to show you. NLP. Yeah. Do you see this model?
Can you make it a little bigger, the screen?
Okay. Guys, do you see this model? This is the model you choose. Now, how do you choose a model? When you read the SBERT website, you will realize that it's a good idea to take a model that is good for searching. Like when your task is search, this is a pretty good model. But it is not the only model that you can use. You could actually go, as I mentioned, to the MTEB leaderboard. The link is on the course portal. It will tell you what models are available. You could have picked any one of these names. Right? And if you look at it, the one that I picked is very low in the ranking at this moment. Why did I pick that? Because I know that it's a model that will definitely run on all your machines. Right? So one of the tasks that you have is to play with different models, pick different strings, don't take something too big, huh? Otherwise your machine will run very slow.
So it will bring down the model, right? It will bring down the model. It will bring down the model.
It will automatically bring down the model. Now, one model that's very popular is the GTE based. The GTE, don't take the large one, just take GTE smaller model. It's very popular these days. Right? GTE base, for example, is very good. Right? There is a BG also is good. There are many such popular ones, but some of these are pretty popular and often used. But try to take the model, not necessarily the best model, but try to take a model that you know others have tried and they vouch for. That, and all you have to do is put the name here, and then you are ready to run. And then there you go. After that, you have this thing. You can print this embedding. You can go, you can search for something. I search for a friendship with animals. Play around with different things, guys, especially visual search. When you do visual search and so forth. And this is a basic example, of course. You can do that. These things should run reasonably fast based on the performance on your machine. As you can imagine, if you're struggling to run this, let me know. I'll come and help you. Then comes this Unsplash library. This is I have deliberately packaged it along with that, so it should run fast. As you can see, otherwise downloading this library is a long thing. Here it is, and now you're ready to do. And let us now look at this. You're looking at, you're searching for something. I invite you to search for something of your own, right? I created a search function for you. Oh, where is my search function defined? Somewhere here, I must have defined the search function. For index enumerate, I think I forgot to run an attribute. This is there, create an index, this, and this. Oh, here's a search function. I wrote a little utility for you to search so that you can play with it and search for things. And when you do it, as you notice, instantly it responds. So one of the things I want you to remark at is how rapid or how instantaneous is the response. These days, people search for through billions of images in milliseconds. If you search for a jumping dog, here it is, pathway through a forest. It is. By the way, let's search for something else. You want to search for something, let's say search. Okay, here it is suggesting a cat on a windowsill. Let's try that. There you go. For all of you cat lovers who are annoyed that I'm only talking about dogs, here it is, right? You could do something else. Let me search for something that may be a little harder to think of. Over the mountains. And there it is. Let's make it something like over a ship. I don't know whether Unsplash has an image for this. Oh, pretty good. The first image has a boat or a yacht and shows the dawn. But it's more a fact that those images don't exist. And let's take something weird. Oh, not weird. Something offline. Tractor driving over the highway. Let's see if there is such an image. Well, there was no such image, apparently. But there is something. If you look carefully at this picture, you'll see that something is driving on a road. Right? So this is more because the image doesn't exist. If I make it the field, I'm sure Unsplash has something for that. Yeah, the tractors seem to be few and far between. It seems farmers don't upload the images too much. Car driving on a highway. This should be very common, I hope. It's only coming up with highways, not many cars there. Well, cars, there are a few cars here. Or this should be too easy. Horse in a field. So I invite you guys to go do your own thing. Then you can paste an image of your own. Let me see if I have some more images to put here that I could search for. Let me take this vision image. Dog images, dog. Let me copy this image. Let's see if I take this and bring it here, what would happen? NLP. NLP. NLP images. Paste one file. Vision.jpg. Vision.jpg. Oh, no such file or directory. NLP images vision.jpg. Why is that? I thought I'd just put it there. Put it in the wrong directory, probably. Okay, copied it over. Let's try this. Yeah, what do we find? We have somebody's eyes. I'll let you decide how good the search results are. First one looks good. Second one, perhaps not so good. Third one makes sense. And then we lose it. So guys, as lunch is coming, I want you to, these are the references. These are the things to study today. I will talk about some of these things in the second half of the session. We will actually read through a research paper. Now, let me discuss your project in the meanwhile. What is your project? Your project is to create a search engine. And a real search engine with this. Project 1, searching for meaning. Let me go there and open this file. All right. If you're seeing my screen, you should be looking on your machine at a file like this. I hope all of you are able to reach this file, and otherwise I'll come to your tables and I'll help you. And those of you who are remote, please speak up and I'll help you. This is your first project. Doesn't necessarily mean that you'll be able to finish it today, but it will take a little bit more help and more than a day. Please start by reading this document, getting together your team, and this chapter 3 is the main chapter that you want to read. Some of it now should be familiar to you, vector search. We'll take you through the whole process, guys. Does it make sense? It does. So for today, guys, don't expect that you have to do this. Take a stab at it, do some things. I will explain this project in detail in the afternoon after lunch. and we'll make some progress. And of course, we'll give you a starter code to do this. Any questions? If not, I'll stop the recording. Is anybody with me still?
Yeah, we can hear.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
All right, guys, then I'll stop sharing and I'll stop recording.